Daniel Craig's run as 007 is over, and I can easily say, yes, it was a great run. But we have a lot more to see from James Bond. There's a saying in England, where there's smoke, there's fire, and here I would add, where there's fire, there's James Bond. The most successful franchise ever confirmed, one more on the list. Stay with me until the end, as I have some really great news to share with you. Now let's jump in with a short recap.
Who doesn't appreciate the occasional twist, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Since the very beginning of the franchise, James Bond films have sustained a secret trend, and it's one that teases a major change is coming for 007 in Bond 26. There has been a distinct style and tone to their tenure, with each actor who has played the man with license to kill. Some of the gravest and most mature matter yet in the series has been addressed in No Time to Die, and that's a trend the next Bond actor may not follow. To keep fans interested, James Bond, one of the longest-running movie franchises ever, has adapted well over the years. From era to era, the series' style has oscillated, and with one goal and one goal only, to provide a refreshing feel each time. With its grounded grittiness, the Daniel Craig era implies that Bond 26 will revert back to the times the franchise hasn't seen for quite some time. But let's go back to No Time to Die for a moment.
Why would I betray you?
We all have our secrets. We just didn't get to yours yet.
Well, it's well known that Fukunaga sometimes has that robust visual sense, especially when he doesn't have to focus on the plot, and that's exactly what keeps No Time to Die watchable. Of course, outside of a typically committed turn from Craig, that tightly framed and almost poetic opening sequence has a grace that Bond often lacks. With Craig and De Armas finding each other's rhythms, that shootout in Cuba moves like a dance scene. There's a single-shot climb in a tower of enemies and a riveting encounter in a foggy forest that recalls that one-shot bravura takes from True Detective. These quick, visceral thrills may be enough in an era with fewer blockbusters. The landscape was already changed with Casino Royale back in 2006. Let's face it, Bond mythology has grown stale, and in this franchise, that was even your grandfather's franchise. Daniel Craig added just some extra adrenaline. Do you know what would be the only criticism for No Time to Die? We may say that there's nothing here that hasn't been done better in the previous Craig's Bond movies. It's not a big deal since we loved all of them, but still we expected something fresh and at least a bit different. Anyway, surely this won't be a movie like Casino Royale and Skyfall that define an era.
Country.
England.
Gun.
Shot.
Again, what was it about? After a long delay, we got this movie in 2021, James Bond in one of his toughest missions ever. There are many differences. With the previous Bond movies, where the character and the events would feel completely new, it seems like this movie took that Marvel Cinematic Universe approach where you're getting a feeling that everything that happened was planned all along. The film catches up with James and Madeline in Italy after a very taut and clever opening flashback scene for Madeline Swan, where he finally decides to go see the grave of the woman who continues to catch him. Convinced she betrayed him, Bond hit that like button. No really. He blames Swan for what happened in Italy, and it leads to a repeat of the Skyfall arc. Okay, I'll stop here about this movie. I'll give you a chance to rewatch it again and won't spoil it completely. Now let's focus on what's coming next. Let's talk about the release date of Bond 26.
I'll hazard I can do more damage on my laptop sitting in my pajamas before my first cup of Earl Grey than you can do in a year in the field.
No Time to Die was released last year, so to have another film announced this fast, well, we can't be anything but grateful. In several interviews so far, the producers have reiterated that there will be a period of creative planning in order to determine the direction of the series. We haven't begun the hunt. We're trying to figure out where the Bond series is going to go, and we need to do that first before we start casting for the role. So we'll start thinking about that sometime next year, said Broccoli for Entertainment Weekly. Reinventing who Bond is, and that takes time. I'd say that filming is at least 2 years away, said the producer back in June, and let's just hope she's wrong this time.
So, this is it.
This is it.
Either way, if we follow her words, this means that the film won't go into production until 2024 at the earliest, which would lead us to a new movie sometime in 2025 if we're lucky enough. But that also means that we'll get the cast members very soon, even sooner than we thought. Is that good or bad? I can't say, since it won't leave us a lot of space to speculate who the next Bond will be. The producers, on the other hand, dropped a few tidbits about what kind of actor they'd like to cast this time, so let's talk about the possible cast list.
But I'm not going to leave here without you knowing that I have loved you.
First of all, let's talk about the things that we already know. The French actress Léa Seydoux revealed that her James Bond character could very well return for the new movie as well. Let's remember that she first appeared in the Bond movie back in 2015 as Bond's love interest, Madeleine Swan Inspector. In fact, some events in the No Time to Die movie teased that her character might as well be returned. Now about the lead character, let's talk about Bond. James Bond. Who could take a burden like that? We've tried looking at younger people in the past, but trying to visualize it doesn't work. Remember, Bond's already a veteran, he's had some experience, he's a person who has been through the wars, so to speak. He's probably been in the SAS or something, he isn't some kid out of high school that you can bring in and start off. That's why it works for a 30-something, said Wilson for Deadline in his most recent interview. After all, this will be a different approach to Bond's character, someone more like a Pierce Brosnan kind of guy, meaning someone who could take out good humor but also keep the tough and brave agent 007. In the past few weeks, we could hear a couple of guys being mentioned for this role. First, Idris Elba, and I must agree that he would be a good fit, taking in mind that this would be the actor who should keep Bond alive in the next at least 10 years. Elba is definitely a good choice. In that small list, there's also the British actor Henry Cavill. And who would be a better Agent Bond than Superman? One thing we're sure about, Bond will smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. No, really, in all seriousness now, he'll be a guy and British, he won't necessarily be white, which might be a great change. Casting a person of color might open great opportunities for the franchise to comment on socio-political, political, and cultural issues. Now, when we speak about the potential plot, there's no official information about it, but following the changes that used to happen over the years, Bond 26 will need to be a massive departure from Craig's Bond era. Fans believe that would be a good thing for the franchise. Wrapping up a narrative arc from 2006 Casino Royale, Daniel Craig bowed out as 007 agent in 2021's long-delayed No Time to Die, reflecting the more brutal aspects of the story. The Daniel Craig era was defined by a more grounded style. It was a reinvention that the franchise needed in that time, kind of a post-9/11 era of Jason Bourne-style figures. And now again, there will be changes as well. As mentioned before, it's expected that Bond 26 will be in Brosnan's style. Broccoli and Wilson want an evolution of that character. When people go, "Oh, who are you gonna get?" It's not just something about casting an actor for a film, it's about a reinvention. And where are we taking it? What do we want to do with the character, said Broccoli. And what do you think? What's your theory? Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.